Welcome back. Now, a feeble economic environment did not weigh on SARS. That's as the South African Revenue Service revealed that it collected almost 10 billion rand, more than February's revised estimates. The tax collector attributes this to higher than expected corporate tax collections, as well as the crackdown on refund fraud. And joining me now to offer key insights on the data and all things tax related is SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter. Thank you so much for your time, Commissioner. Now let's, start off with the kind of dynamics we saw between personal income tax and corporate tax. I do realize that corporate tax did decrease. Of course, we know the woes that the mining sector has been dealing with and also the headwinds, the areas of headwinds that companies have been dealing with. But you did manage to collect more than estimated, but also personal income tax. This is in an environment in which consumers are under pressure. Where did the money come from, Commissioner?
Yeah. Zanati, I wish I could say to you that it's just one magic wand that we wave there and the money rolls in. But unfortunately, there's just no such luck. Every single rand has to be earned. So what was really pleasing is that the work and the foundation we've laid in the last 5 years is slowly beginning to have what we call an endowment effect, a compounding effect. So, for example, if I just take the work in data science and machine learning algorithms in AI work, when we started out, we were, relatively inexperienced. We're now gaining experience, and so our fraud risk detection capability has improved. Our ability to do an auto assessment without the taxpayer having to submit any information to us using just third-party data has improved. Our debt collection has improved because we do debt propensity modeling using AI. So at the end of the day, it is, in the case of debt, for example, we have had to resolve over 2.6 million cases of outstanding debt. In the process, issued 1.375 million final demand letters. We've had 160,000 civil judgments, entered into payment installment agreements with taxpayers. So it's many, many little things. And that has produced, for example, the 91 billion rand worth of debt that we've collected. In the case of fraud risk detection, we have for the first time surpassed 100 billion of refunds that would have flown out that are fraudulent or impermissible. And that meant that when all the declarations we've received, we would have risk alerted about 2.5 million. Our employees would pour their mind onto it, they would verify, they would investigate it, and they would either raise additional taxes or disallow a refund. And so these 2.5 million instances of work, produces a further 100 billion. And so it is little pockets of work, many, many little things that has produced an extra 294 billion rand to the fiscus, and added to the rest of the numbers, we were able then not just to meet the revised estimate, but to exceed it by about 10 billion rand.
Yeah, indeed, it is very encouraging to see the results of this journey that SARS has taken over the last couple of decades in terms of laying that solid foundation, of course, as you talk about this endowment compounding effect. You mentioned the refunds. Of course, you did prevent refund fraud, but of course, even the refunds that you have given out have increased. Talk to me about the sources of those and where those refunds have largely been directed to.
So we mentioned that refunds have grown to the highest level ever, 414 billion rands of refunds. Let me first say what's pleasing is always the fact that this is money that we return into the economy. And in fact, the total number of refunds that we paid out makes up 6% of gross domestic product. It's not insignificant. And so the ability of SARS to deal with that efficiently and to get the bulk of that out within the turnaround time that we've committed is not an insignificant piece of work and a clear commitment by us. What was also nice is that 120 billion rand of the refunds that we paid out was paid out to small businesses and medium businesses, and a further 37 to individuals. So hopefully that has a multiplier effect in the economy, and it, in certain instances, may even save small businesses from going, under.
Yeah, all right.
We balance that with the biggest consumer of refunds is VAT. We see companies that are being created for no other purpose but to defraud the fiscus because they have no intention to trade. We see individuals registering for VAT that they don't have to. There's a requirement for someone who is a non-executive director, for example, who earns more than R1 million to claim to register for VAT. We see people with no requirement to register. And when we look through that, we see multiple entities but a single persona behind that. And so we have to be increasingly more vigilant to make sure we manage this fine balance between giving excellent service and getting the refunds paid out to taxpayers, whilst balancing that with managing risk to the fiscus.
Yeah, also really interesting to see how far-reaching those fraud prevention efforts have also come. Just also talking about compliance, Commissioner, how receptive are taxpayers to the compliance program and the penalties?
We find honest taxpayers work very well with us. Remember, we have 3 core business objectives. The first core business objective is to help taxpayers understand their obligation. We don't want to catch people out. So we've increased the number of webinars, the number of communications to taxpayers, the number of rulings that we hand out, and we invite taxpayers to come to us when they are even contemplating a particular corporate transaction so that we can give them clarity ahead of time. So that's the first objective. The second objective is to make it easy for them to fulfill their obligations by helping them in the case of the 4 million taxpayers who have not had to fill in a tax return. That's the help we do, and AI and data science helps us to do that because we compute the assessment completely just using third-party data and AI. And of the 4 million people, 97% of them actually accept the result, and their work is done for them. So our second objective is to make it easy. And our third objective, and this we do unapologetically, is where we note instances of non-compliance. Depending on the degree of non-compliance, we will first nudge taxpayers by sending a friendly letter, a friendly reminder, pay your outstanding debt, file your outstanding returns. But if you don't, then eventually you will get a red letter, and finally you may get a knock on the door. You may get assets frozen. And by then, taxpayers do get quite heated, but really we can't hold back the administration of the law, which we administer without fear, favor, or prejudice, because every one of us must honor the law and our tax obligations. That is what makes us a democracy.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Commissioner. Always very interesting to get insights on that tax landscape. That was Edward Kieswetter, Commissioner of SARS.